A small minority of men have all the sexual opportunity. A fairly large minority of men don't. The women are unhappy because they can't find a committed relationship. It's bad for most of the men. And the men who have all the sexual opportunity get cynical. You're a young man, and all the women are rejecting you. Who's got the problem? It's not all the women. That's a bad road to go down. If all the women are rejecting you, it's you.
One of the things that you talked about with incels is that, and this was a part of the what was it? It was a New York Times hit piece.
Yeah.
You said one of the cures for this is enforced monogamy. People decided, and I had never heard that term before, quite honestly, and I was like, well, what the fuck does that mean? It's a psychological term, and what it means is enforced by culture, that it is a good value.
Monogamy, yeah, because polygamous societies tend to become ultra-violent.
Yeah.
And that's been known in the anthropological literature for 100 years. And certainly leftist anthropologists were among those who discovered it. Like, the journalist knew perfectly well what I meant by enforced monogamy. She's not stupid. You use it as if everybody would understand it because you're an intellectual and because you're a professor and this is what you do. It was also 2 minutes out of a 2-day conversation. It's like, so it was something we just glanced over. Well, that was funny in some sense, because my sense is if you want to pillory someone, you should attribute to them views that someone somewhere has had. And the implication of that part of the New York Times article was that I wanted to, take nubile young women at the point of a gun under state enforcement and deliver them to useless men. It's like no one has ever believed that. So attributing
but it sounds like that. It's the optics of that statement are very bad. But the question is, why wasn't there follow-up questions? And if there was follow-up questions to get you to define what you mean by enforced monogamy.
Well, there were. They just didn't make it into the piece.
Well, that's a real problem.
Yeah, it's a real problem.
That's a real problem because
it's so ridiculous. Because
it's an inaccurate definition of who you are.
Well, one of the things I've said continually, and this is on record in multiple places, it's like, okay, so you're a young man, and all the women are rejecting you. Who's got the problem? It's not all the women. That's a bad road to go down. If all the women are rejecting you, it's you.
We both agree on this, but why is enforced monogamy the solution for people that are involuntary celibates?
Well, it's the solution to the relationship between men and women. Fundamentally, is monogamous social norms.
But these men are unattractive. If these men are unattractive,
solution to them.
But if these men are unattractive to women, I don't mean just physically unattractive. I mean women aren't seeking them as mates. They need to become men.
Yes, they certainly do.
That's the solution. That's the solution.
Absolutely,
and we both agree on this. So,
yes, but they need to do that in a society where monogamy is the social norm.
But isn't it the social norm anyway?
Well, that was partly my point. Although, to the degree that we deviate from that, we tilt towards a more violent society. I was making a very minor point.
I don't think they're related, quite honestly. I don't think that involuntary celibates, I don't think that having enforced monogamy as a part of our cultural norm is going to help those people. I really don't.
It does.
How's it going to help them?
Well, because what happens is if a polygamous society develops, which is the alternative, then a small minority of men get all the women. That's what happens.
Oh, okay, I could see that.
That's the only point that I was making.
Theoretical world where polygamous societies exist en masse, and then you do have this problem where there's a small group of men that are fucking all the women. But that's not what we're talking about.
And also making the women unhappy, right? Because the women don't have any access to a genuine, intimate, one-to-one relationship over any long period of time.
Which
so
is what the women want. It's the whole idea is that the women want that. Right, sure, if you have children.
Right.
But I still don't think that is why these men are involuntary celibates, and I don't think it's the solution to that. I think the solution is that they need to become attractive to women.
Yes, that is the solution. Yes. There's no doubt about that.
I don't think the two are related.
Well, I was making a minor point. The minor point was that one of the ways that societies around the world have figured out that you keep young male aggression under control is by enforcing monogamous standards, because it gives everyone a chance in some sense. So that's the only point that I was making.
Meaning it clears more women will be available for one-on-one relationships rather than one guy who is some whatever, for whatever reason,
Yeah,
some
well, you see
large
this
figure in society.
Yeah, well, you see this happening in universities where women outnumber men. So the men hypothetically have more sexual opportunity, but that isn't what happens. What happens is that a small minority of men have all the sexual opportunity. A fairly large minority of men don't. The women are unhappy because they can't find a committed relationship. It's bad for most of the men, and the men who have all the sexual opportunity get cynical.